Hey everybody, welcome to the Modcast. I'm Gordo, that's Gary, and this is episode 25. It's going to be all about the hidden traps of running an RIA, all the expensive stuff that gets in the way. Gary, how you doing?
I'm good. Fired up to talk about this. This is a good topic.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff.
No, I love a hidden trap.
There are several.
There's quite a few.
I think we're going to get into 5. Actually, we have a top 5 list.
We do.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
All right. You want to just jump in?
Let's jump in.
Yeah. All right, cool. So the market is what we would call barbelling fast, right? There's a lot of data in this industry, which is awesome. But what we've learned is there's approximately 300 mega RIAs. That's $5 billion plus of client AUM. And that's up quite a bit since 2018, like 34% increase in the number of those firms. And this stat is staggering to me. 77% of RIA assets are held by just 7% of firms. Those firms that are bigger than $1 billion. 77% of client AUM is controlled by just 7% of the firms. Crazy to me. In this industry, M&A is on fire. Everybody wants to do a deal. We all think it's sexy and fun. And what say you?
Well, deals are fun, but yeah, I mean, it's a time of rapid change. When people talk about barbelling, just for our viewers and listeners, you're talking about like you got a lot at one end, a lot of something at one end, a lot of something at the other end, and not a lot in the middle. So what this is saying to us is that there's a lot of small RIAs, and in fact, new ones are opening every day. And then you got a lot of assets on the other end of the barbell concentrated in a small number of large RIAs. And so it's a very sort of, segmented space right now. And that's driving a lot of complexity and a lot of challenges for the big ones and the small ones. But they obviously have different ways of addressing them. And I think that's what we're not addressing them. And I think that's what we're going to get into today.
But there's something like 18,000 RIAs that are just pure RIA. And we've talked before, I think there's a massive shadow inventory of advisors and practices that sit in on IBD channels that are not counted in that. But right. I mean, you fold all that in, it's even more dramatic.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get into this a little bit. This episode is not necessarily about M&A itself, and we talk about mergers and acquisitions a lot on this show, but one of the drivers, a big driver of the record M&A activity that has been occurring in the RIA space over the last several years, peaking, at least a new peak, in the first quarter of 2026, which was apparently tied for the most active quarter ever and up 24% year over year. According to industry sources. But these hidden traps, these hidden costs, new complexities introduced, war for talent, all these things that you hear about and read about if you're in the space, are driving a lot of people to say, okay, I'm going to go to market, whether they're retiring or whether they're joining a larger firm and saying, great, I want to get rid of these problems, or make them your problem. You solve it.
Yeah. I'm taking my pile of crap and giving it to you. You deal with the crap.
That's a good image.
Yeah. Well, those 93 transactions that you reference in Q1, again, that's just RIA to RIA. That has nothing to do with this shadow inventory that I've like been beating the drum on, right? So we've announced multiple transactions this year that won't be reported in that number because they came out of a broker dealer.
Right. Yeah. So it's even more.
Yeah, it's even more. It's a lot more. And then the average AUM in Q1 26 acquired by deal was 1.16 billion. So take 93 times 1.16 billion, and that's the total volume of AUM that transacted in Q1, RIA to RIA. And this stat's crazy. $1 billion to $5 billion. So firms 1 billion to 5 billion now represent 30% of all deals, up from 28% a year ago, right? So there's a record number of $1 billion firms out there. It's crazy how many. I mean, 10 years ago, if you had $1 billion firm, you were in rare
air. Yeah.
right? And now it's stunning to me how many $1 billion practices exist out there.
Yep. Stunning.
Yep. Yeah. I'm stunned. All right. So why are they transacting? You would think, all right, you've made the $1 billion milestone. You've got revenue, you've got EBITDA, you've got people, but you also have problems. And that's really, some of the reason $1 billion firms start to look for a partner. And we're going to get into 5 today. It's not an exclusive list or the only thing that they think about. But these are some things that we hear about when we're talking to sellers and managers and developers of big firms. And this doesn't happen at $1 billion. It could happen at any growth cycle or stage. You might find yourself at 500 million having some of these same burdens or crises that you need to overcome. Or it may take you till you get to 2 or 3 billion to get here. But this is some of the list. So you want to hit burden number 1?
Yeah, but I mean, before we dive into that, I think just setting it up, the fact that a record number of $1 billion firms are coming to market, what we're seeing, as we have a view of some of this, is it's not just because they've decided they want to transact. It is also because they've hit operational ceilings that they realize they can't push through alone. And so that is sort of a not obvious driver of all of this M&A activity that we're seeing. And but let's talk about what some of these hidden traps are. So
you're up. Burden number 1.
Number 1, the talent crisis. Some people call it the war for talent, which is a little bit of a hyperbole, exaggeration, but finding good people in an industry that doesn't really train and young people anymore in the way that it used to. So some data points that our intrepid head of marketing and show runner here, Paul, has put together that I'll run through. These are not just things I have top of mind, but so the advisor workforce is growing only 0.3% a year. Most people's attention has been focused around the number of advisors or lack thereof, that new advisors that are coming into the space, because as we've talked about, the existing advisor base is aging on average, in the late 50s, and not so many new younger people coming in to this business. So McKinsey, in a recent study, projects a shortage of 90 to 110,000, let's call it 100,000-ish advisors by 2034. Now, I will add to this point, though, which leads to another complexity we'll talk about later, that I think there's a lot of newer thinking around this, and by newer, I mean like just in the last few months, that the productivity gains that can be yielded from using our artificial intelligence tools will significantly cut into this, not by taking advisors' jobs away, but by making existing advisors more productive, and therefore there won't be as much of a need because the number of clients an advisor will be able to skillfully manage will grow based on the ability to sort of be much more scaled in terms of information flow and back office. We'll get into that. But it is true that today there is a growing shortage of advisors. But beyond that, it's not just advisors. And this is the thing that's that's interesting, which is you got 200 to 300 new RIAs registering monthly, so they've got to find some people. You have aggregators growing. Every aggregator, according to a friend of the firm, Stephen Clark. Is he a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Hi, Stephen. Hope you're
He's
listening.
a friend, and I'm going to be on his podcast here in the next few weeks.
Yeah. So, Stephen,
The Hunter Podcast.
I hope you're listening. Like and subscribe, please.
Yep.
And we'll do this. So every bigger firm, people call them aggregators. I don't like that term, but integrators might have 20 or 30 positions open at a given time, not field roles, but home office functions. And those roles, the head of department kind of roles, chief compliance officer, chief operating officer, chief technology officer, chief marketing officer, those roles are now the choke point today, not the advisor role. Mm-hmm. That's what we're seeing in the research out there. Mm-hmm. But it's a real constraint. And if you're a smaller firm, you don't really have these roles, but we'll get into why.
Well, they exist. It's just one person.
It's one person, right? Exactly. Hats. It's the whole, like, I wear all the hats.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is more people needed, fewer people coming into the space.
Here's what's crazy. 200 to 300 new RIAs registered every single month.
Yeah. I didn't know that until we were prepping for this show.
I didn't either.
So there must be new advisors, or there are people who are splitting off.
I think they're breaking from, the typical.
But there's some new advisors.
Well, the typical progression, right? You start with a wire, you go to an IBD, then you go to RIA, right? So it's kind of like this slide to a magical place called RIA land.
Yeah.
And Chutes and Ladders will get you there. Hey, we have a special guest coming up on a future podcast who has been
a future what?
Oh, hell, I did it. It's not a podcast. It's the Modcast. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, Dave DeVoe from DeVoe & Co. is going to come and talk about a number of topics, but one of them is this absolute crisis that our industry faces with a lack of talent. And he has a bunch of stats and stuff to go around it. So
that'd be great.
Definitely tune in to hear Dave. Yeah.
Well, let's get to our next burden. We'll talk more about people on the next show as well. But you want to take this one?
Not really. This is not a topic.
This is your favorite topic.
Mm-hmm. Although I have spent a lot of time with the person who does this particular role for us this week, and I love them. They're great. Number 2, the compliance cost curve just got steeper. 26 data points. So I'm just going to rip through a bunch of data points and then we'll chat about it. How's that?
Please.
Yeah. 24 amendments to Reg S-P require large RAs, those of $1.5 billion or greater, to comply by the end of December 25, with smaller firms requiring to comply a month ago. It's now July. They were supposed to do it by June of 26. So a lot more amendments, a lot more regulation. The 26 examination priorities specifically call out cybersecurity governance, vendor oversight, AI-driven intrusion preparedness, and a whole bunch of other things. But like, if you think about that, how are you using your digital tools, your AI tools? Are you using them correctly? Do you have the correct compliance oversight? Do you have the correct archiving? Are you prepared? What's your vendor oversight? What's your cybersecurity governance? Do you have a cybersecurity team or outsource provider? And how are you using those things? These are all SEC/regulator topics of great interest.
And did you listen to those bullet points and go, "Oh God, please stop saying all of this"? If you were, then you probably have a problem.
Yeah. Well, right. And then, so like, think about this: for a 10-person RIA, core compliance software alone should cost you, and I say should because not everybody is fully on board with this stuff, $200,000 to $400,000 annually, and that's before implementing any security controls or running the software.
Yeah.
And so a full-time chief compliance officer for a 500 million to a 500 million-ish dollar firm is going to cost $200,000-300,000.
Yeah.
Like it's real money. And the SEC initiated 90 plus actions against investment advisors in 2025. Record-keeping failures alone drove $63 million in penalties across 12 firms in early of 25. That's
Amazing.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
57% of firms allow AI experimentation. That's what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah.
Like, how are you using it? Are you using it properly? But only 35% have formal AI policies, creating a massive governance gap. So,
and I bet
there's some penalties we can get into and all kinds of stuff. But
I'm willing to bet many of those AI policies were formulated by asking an AI tool,
yeah,
hey,
chat, can you make me a policy?
Claude, what should my AI governance policy be? Which, I mean, it could be a great objective source. I don't know.
Yeah. But look, it's here's what I know. Like, compliance is it used to just be a burden and a drag on your P&L, right? It was a cost exclusively. And I think compliance is now it's expensive, yes. It's necessary, absolutely. And the protections that a strong compliance program put in place will not be a cost center to you if done correctly, right? I mean, I do believe
it should be an asset.
Yeah, it's an asset, and I'm not talking about red marker all over your marketing materials and client letters and all that. That's just the stuff we have to do. That's just a normal burden of the business. But your compliance department is absolutely an asset of your firm. And when we talk about firm valuation drivers, the compliance is absolutely one of those things. Having a strong compliance program. Anything you want to hit on compliance?
No, I think we still got a lot to cover. I think
we sure do. We're up to number 3 though.
Number three, the time trap.
Yeah, this is. I'm going to let you hit all the bullet points here, but I have at a couple of conferences recently talked about a time and motion strategy or calculation, and that being how much time are you actually spending the things, how much time are you spending on the things that actually matter and drive the business?
Yeah.
Allow you to provide exceptional client care and grow the business.
And this is one like we don't even need to look at stats to know, right, though I'm going to tick through a few. But, and this has been true over 15, 20 years when you meet with founders of an independent firm, unless they've reached some significant scale and have been able to invest in the resources needed to make this not true. But more often than not, the founders and the principals of RIAs just find themselves saying, listen, I just wish I could get back to spending the majority of my time on the things that are the reason I got into business in the first place, which is it's different for some people. For some people, it's all about prospecting. For some people, they have an incredible passion for planning and meeting with existing clients. For some, it's about investments or all of the above. But to quantify it, Fidelity, fall of last year, released a time value equation report. This is, I think, out there. In this study, and I'm sure it was very broad, only 27% of advisors say they spend their time on high value activities. That's incredible.
So a quarter of our industry is working at the top of their license or their highest and best use.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Only 27%. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that number. 59% of advisor time goes to administration, compliance, and non-client tasks. There's always going to be some in any line of work. There's always going to be overhead things that are, okay, I got to get this done to fulfill the promises I've made, to implement all this, everything. But that's a staggering percentage. And the flip side is 59% goes to administration, compliance, and non-client tasks. So only 41% of an advisor's day is dedicated to clients and prospects. So according to this study, reallocating just 5 hours per week could mean $270,000 in additional revenue per advisor per year. Just 5 hours a week. But 5 hours a week adds up. That's 250 hours a year, something like that. And then Schwab study in 2025, firms cite capacity constraints as a growing strategic concern. So all of this adds up to people are spending more time on the things that are not about growing the business or even maintaining the existing client base's happiness, well-being, et cetera, but the things that you have to do in the background to make those things happen, which are all important. But it is this time trap that we're talking about.
Yeah, and you have to move from, are you an operator or of a business? Are you the advisor to the clients? Or are you a business builder, right? And because you can't be all those things. You can't build the business, operate the business, and be the advisor to the clients if you're going to build a big business, right? You can do it if you're, if you want to build a lifestyle practice, absolutely you could do it. But when you move into 500 million, 600 million, $1 billion of AUM, this becomes a real problem. And we find that founders typically are the bottleneck if they also want to play the role of advisor. Like if you want to graduate from that role and really be the business executive, which some people are able to successfully make that move, then you have the potential of no longer being the bottleneck. But that's not what we find. We tend to find the founder is still the advisor to the firm's best clients. They're still doing all the stuff that's absorbing their calendar and preventing them from doing high impact activities.
Yeah, and if you can't delegate, you will stagnate. And yes, that rhymed.
Yeah.
But in order to delegate, you also have to bring in those people that we just said are hard to find, and
it costs money.
And that costs money. And that money, if you're the founder, it comes right out of your pocket. And that's hard to do for some people. It's like, because I'm okay right now, and why should I invest? And we've seen that many, many times over the years. And so all of these things create this time trap. That instinct that built the business is now what's capping it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it.
I'll do it all.
I got it. No one can do this better than me.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I own the restaurant, but I'll still do all the grocery shopping. I'll still do all the prep work. I'll still do all the cooking. I'm still going to, plate everything. I'm still going to deliver it to the tables, and I'm going to do the dishes at the end of the night. Effectively, that's what an advisor is saying.
Yeah.
Their job is. They're no longer just the chef. They're the everything. And we got to get advisors back to being just the chef.
Just be the chef.
Yeah. And be chef. Really damn good at it. All right. I love that. I don't know where that came from. Maybe I'm just hungry because I skipped lunch today.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. Burden number 4, the tech stack you outgrew without noticing it, plus the AI problem. Wow. So I'm addicted to AI. I love it. Love it. And it helps me with everything. I'm currently remodeling in an outdoor area of our home, and took some photos and uploaded it to the tool and said, this is what I like and the style my wife likes, and amazing stuff comes. And I'm like, yeah, just go do that. That's awesome. So we're using it for everything. And many advisors are doing the same.
So is the AI planting plants for you?
Oh, I wish. Yeah, that would be.
It's that last mile.
The final mile. That's right. 63% of advisors now use AI. That's more than double in 23, which I think is crazy. I think it's way more than that. But only 1 in 10 are fully integrating it into the business strategy. And that was a stat that we picked up at the conference, and you so greatly remember it. Of all those surveyed at the conference, how many of them said having an AI strategy was important?
It was like 70 something percent. My memory is not as great on it since then, but like, let's say it was like 70% or 75%.
Yeah, I think it was 69% said it was important to have a strategy.
Yeah, I'm rounding up because I think that number was low. Like some people are just saying no because they want to.
Not everybody's honest.
Contrarian.
Yeah. And how many people had a strategy or were working on a strategy? So it's really important to 70% of firms, but
25.
Yeah, it was very, very low.
Yeah.
It's a problem. AI is a problem. AI is a gift and it's a problem. And your tech stack and the burden of tech debt. So this is what this is really getting out. You've outgrown the tech stack. You're still trying to do it on the old stuff that's not as good, not as efficient, not as productive, but it's expensive to change. Not just in the cost of the new tech and the new platform, but also the change management associated with that type of change. But your legacy tech debt is real, whether you want to admit it or not. And it's going to be expensive to fix it. And DeVoe, back to our friend Dave, he says in Q1 26, explicitly, he states, buyers now value infrastructure over AUM. Firms with clean data and unified workflows command premium multiples. It's not just about how much AUM do you have, what's the revenue, and what's the EBITDA. Not all firms are created equally. You could have two $1 billion firms that drive the exact same revenue, say $10 million, that drive the exact same EBITDA, let's say $5 million, and get two valuations for that firm. And it's organic growth rates. It's, do you have a next gen talent in the house? It's what's the tech stack look like? What are your workflows like? Who's doing the work, right? And you're probably underspending on your tech platform. A typical independent advisor spends 4 to 6% of revenue on technology. That's just $20,000 to $40,000 a year per advisor. Everybody, what is required to be in this business? A brain, a computer, and a phone. And the computer is the part that we're talking about right now. You should just use best-in-class, industry-leading tech platforms with really good workflows built around it so that when you do go to think about transacting on your business is worth more money, and that'll help you.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've used real estate analogies a bunch of times, but it's like you can envision two houses side by side on the same street, so same neighborhood, say the same square footage, same lot size. One of them has been well maintained over the years, upgraded, modernized, has relatively new or new plumbing, electricity, kitchens, bathrooms, paint job, roof, and the other has a kitchen with avocado appliances from the 1970s.
Hey. Why are you talking about my house right now?
I'm not. I've been to your house. It's not like that. And those are cool in a retro way, but not when, they're actually 50 years old and not well maintained. And, it's like the wiring
and competing with the house next door,
questionable. And then, the plumbing is questionable and the roof needs to be replaced and all that stuff. Like, they're not worth the same. They're just not. So yeah, tech debt, it's hard to keep up. I mean, that's just it. And it's moving faster than ever.
Yeah. And AI adoption and having an AI tool is not enough. And it's not a differentiator. Is like, just assume everybody has something that's listening to meetings and helping you with notes and next actions. Just assume that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should do an audit, a full review. All right. Bird number 5.
Succession. The succession math has officially broken. So we've talked about aging advisors. There's a lot of people thinking about succession in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. So again, quoting some stats from some friends and folks in the industry. According to a Kestra Holdings report from 2025, only 6% of advisors nearing retirement have a written succession plan. Okay, so that's really fascinating because it's an industry of planners.
We're in the planning business.
This is like it's right there in the after financial, the word planning.
Literally.
And
What we say we do.
many of them are certified financial planners. So they, but only 6% have a plan. So that, might think about
It's
that.
the mechanic with a bunch of cars in the driveway.
Of supposedly 26,000 advisors will retire in the next decade, representing 2.5 trillion with a T in AUM. But this is according to our friend Dave DeVoe, who's going to be with us on the next Modcast, if you're watching this in sequence or listening. In the DeVoe State of the Market report in just Q1 of 2026, and I quote, "Many RIA owners in the 1 billion to 5 billion range have attempted internal succession, but the next generation can't afford to buy equity to make that transaction happen. External transactions become the most practical solution." So again, this feeds back into the whole acquisition cycle. But in the past, 15, 20 years ago, was pretty normal. You have a senior advisor, advisors, founders. You'd have a next generation. The next generation would buy out let the senior advisors retire and pay them back over 5 years, basically with the cash flow from the business. But now the valuations are so much higher that they can't afford that. So you got to finance it. You got to come bring in a third party. And we'll unpack this more in our upcoming episode 26 with Dave DeVoe. We'll get into this deeper. So I'll move on. But you obviously have this, succession plan risks. Who's going to be the successor? And this matters to the advisor who's looking to sell. It really matters to the clients, and
they're thinking about it.
You don't want to get that letter. I've seen it in the medical business where it's like, this has happened to family members, independent, like individual doctor practice, doctor retires, shutting down, go find a new doctor. Or sometimes they're selling to something and it's, you don't really know what you're getting into. So succession, again, we'll talk about it more in the next episode. But the math is broken in terms of internal succession. And so now that's becoming a big driver of the M&A market. And the truth is, the bigger you get, the fewer internal options you have. So,
I love the end of that, which is that's the cruelest math in the industry.
That's the cruelest math in this industry.
Right. Your firm is worth more now than it has ever been worth. And it's becoming harder and harder to hand that off to the next generation in your office. It's just almost impossible.
Yeah.
Unless they come from a background with a lot of money, or you're willing to take a note for a very long period of time. It's just a fact of the business that we're in, that most next gen advisors or younger people can't afford the firm that you've built if it's of size.
Yeah. And most people in this industry are not, that we're all for-profit, creatures and commercial creatures, as people like to say. So people don't really like to give away value, even if they like the people that they'd be giving it away to. So
it's your biggest single asset. I'm just going to assume that your RIA is the most valuable thing that you own. So
especially today.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Gary, that was 5.
That was 5.
That was all 5 of them. Actually, it was, what did we get to? The talent crisis. We'll hear more about that from Dave DeVoe. We heard about the compliance cost curve just got a lot steeper. We heard about the time trap. Do the time and motion study. It will be enlightening. Number 4, the tech stack you outgrew without noticing you outgrew it, and the AI problem. The succession math is officially broken, meaning everything that we just talked about it's a problem. You can't transact with your junior team. You got to look for outside help. All right. You can hear this everywhere, YouTube and all your favorite podcast listening device networks and links. If you want to connect with us, it's modcast.show. We'd be happy to chat with you in depth.
So I think the takeaway from this episode and these 5 issues, which are just the first 5 we thought of, the takeaway is, listen, if you're running a 400, 500 million, even $1 billion RIA and any of this hit a nerve, you're not failing. You've just graduated to a harder set of problems than the ones you had when you were starting up. So the question isn't whether you can keep solving them alone. It's whether you want to spend the next 10 years doing that, or do you want to find another way to solve those problems, which again is part of what our firm is built to do, not as an ad, but just as a example. And that's a lot of what's driving this consolidation in the business.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a nice landing.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you.
Pretty good.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
I'm Gordo. That's Gary. This is the Modcast. Till next time.